And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast. Was also as well inside sports, fantasy football, also as well, of course, Joe Sorrell. He is Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. Plus, he owns a company out there as well that you got to support if you're in the Southern California area and you need a new lawn transformed into something much more magical than it is today. Simblades. Simblades with a Y.com. Also, as well, of course, Lakerholics.com. The name on the marquee, Lakerholics Spotlight, is Lakerholics.com. Go ahead and check out what LakerTom, Jamie Sweet, and everybody out there in the Lakerholics community have to say about the Lakers each and every day at Lakerholics.com. Plus, also as well, our good friends, Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, also as well, the John McCalian channel, Larry Lakers Dribbling Chit Chat, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, and the Lakers Corner. Please support those great channels. And speaking of supporting great channels, please go ahead and like, follow, share, subscribe, whatever you can do to help us out. It is immensely appreciated this holiday season right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, I'll tell you what, it is a good day indeed when you can start talking about trades. Again, it's still all speculative, but December 15th is a magical day on the NBA calendar as the teams, in some cases, are now available to look more seriously into just looking at more as far as their roster, who is available for trades and whatnot, because many players on NBA roster, not all, but many players on NBA rosters became eligible on the 15th of December, with more to come next month before February's trade deadline. So we thought we would go ahead and have our resident trade guru. Shout out to you, Big Sofo, as well. Appreciate it. Glad you're here as well. But also as well, again, it is that time of the year when you can start speculating on trades, who might be going where and when, and what do the Lakers, what do they need to get, and how do they fit into all this? So we brought in our resident trade, I don't want to say guru, I don't want to say expert, I want to say just maybe our TraderTom, so to speak. It is the guy who is the Darvin Ham apologist, which is with his latest comment at Lakers Fast Break page on Lakerholics.com. As I notice, as I return to there because the bugs have now gone away from Lakerholics.com, and I'm allowed to go ahead and actually get on to Lakerholics.com, which was so fun. Now I get to be able to post videos there once again. It is LakerTom at LakerTom. Good to have you here, the Darvin Ham apologist that you are. Again, he did not like our episode yesterday with MagicMan and I, even though the majority of our audience feels otherwise, that he is doing a pretty crummy job at the moment. But be that as it may, Darvin Ham aside, it is now trade season. We thought we would let you go run wild on certain speculative trade matters as far as who to target, who do we think is a feasible target, who maybe not. Doesn't matter. We'll just go ahead and give a big shout out to many people on there as far as that you think might be up for trades. But there is one name that isn't on your list that I'm going to show here in a second, because I'm actually going to go ahead and get a retweet that you tweeted out there. I'm going to put it on the chat here in a sec, this link right here. And okay, it's up there right there. So your thoughts, LakerTom, we'll bring you in. Plus also MagicMan Sean Grice is here. I'll formally introduce him here in a second. But LakerTom, go ahead. Let us know. Get us started with some trade talk from TraderTom.
Well, let me sort of set the stage. As Gerald so aptly described everything, players who were recently signed are now eligible on December 15th to be traded.
Some.
Well, there are, and then on January 15th, players who were recently signed but used bird rights will also be eligible to be traded. So those are the two dates, and then February 8th is the trade deadline. The Lakers really have four options. One option is to do nothing, to just keep the existing team, add a 15th player, and let's go. Second option is to maybe make minor tweaks, one-for-one trades, where we still keep our 12-man rotation, even though we can only play 10 at a time or in any given game. That's a very good possibility. The third possibility is that we realize we only need a 10-man rotation, so we do a 3-for-1 trade to try to upgrade the starting lineup. And you're going then you're giving up that depth, that insurance that nobody's going to get injured, and that's something big to give up for the Lakers, who can't seem to even, with a 12-man rotation, be able to go out there with more than 8 or 9 guys at times. And then the last one is to go for a superstar, go for Trae Young or Levine, and just go all in on a third superstar. Those are the four options that the Lakers have. I don't think the extremes, doing nothing or going in for a superstar, are going to happen. But Zach LaVine is getting depreciated so much that it's probably turning into a possibility that he could be traded for something that nobody could have imagined a year ago. His price has really gone down, and on top of that, he's currently got a minor injury. Add that to his injury history and so forth, and his salary. It's the problem is getting rid of a $40 million guy is a lot harder than getting rid of two $10 million guys and a $20 million guy. And your chances of it's really a famine or feast situation, because you're putting so much into one player. If you put that money into 3 players, you could have all 3 be good. You could have 2 of them be good. You could have 1 of them be good and still come out ahead, in a situation. So this is a real test. We saw a screw up with Westbrook that was just worthy of firing the general manager. And then we saw a turnaround that's like worthy of being general manager of the year in what he did at the trade deadline in the summer. I think we have 3 top priorities in my mind. I think we need a better point guard. I don't think D'Angelo Russell is a championship caliber point guard. I think we need a better small forward. Taurean Prince is not the answer as a starter. And I think we need a better backup center than Christian Wood or Jackson Hayes, because neither one of them. The problem is, guys, when you get minimum guys to fill these spots, there's a reason these guys are minimum guys. We really need to take a look at the center situation. I'd love to get somebody like Daniel Gafford or Kelly Olynyk even to diversify that position. I also, and we'll talk about this one, I'm sure. I think that Draymond Green is a great fit for the Lakers. Could be gotten for a reasonable price. He's a touch guy. He fits the center position. He's a great defender. He's a great distributor.
Did you just say Draymond Green?
Pardon?
Did you just say Draymond? I don't know. I'm a little sleepy this morning, but did you say Draymond Green?
Because I think that there's a possibility that Green is going to get traded, and I think that the Lakers would be a perfect landing spot for him.
Okay, that's my flabbergasted mouth here saying you're crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be flabbergasted. No, listen. There's a lot of. It's an interesting scenario when you really start to look at it, because he only makes $22 million and he's got a 4-year contract. The Lakers need a center who can defend Joker. He's probably one of the best defenders in the league against Joker. He's a great distributor, a great passer, and he's a great defensive play caller. And he could start next to Anthony Davis, and the Lakers would be a tremendously better defensive team. That's something to think about. He doesn't solve the 3-point shooting contest. You'd have to go out and maybe try to do something to get better defensive point guard. That's still a big issue, I think. My favorite 2 picks are still to trade for Marcus Smart and Lauri Markkanen. I think they are the perfect 2 players to change the starting lineup of the Lakers. You get a great defender at point guard, and you get an 8 to 9 shots 3-point shooter who's a volume 3-point shooter and can also play backup center in Laurie. And I think he's on the trade market now. Almost everybody I'm reading says that he's on the trade market. And the Lakers, they should go after that. They have that opportunity with. They have a really good opportunity with the Jazz because the Jazz own their 27 pick, except for the first 4 picks. So we could remove that protection, turn that pick into an unprotected pick, and give them 2 pick swaps that would give them the essential of 3 unprotected Laker picks to get Markkanen and Olenek. So those are the kind of trades that I think that the Lakers should be looking for. I'm not a fan of Zach LaVine. I'm not really even a fan of Zach LaVine if we got Alex Caruso with him. That's the backcourt that the Bulls have. That's going to really turn us around. I don't think so. So I think we have to think about those 3 positions that we really need. You can't go forward with D'Angelo. You can't do that. It's not going to pay off. It's going to be a problem at some point. He will get played off the court either offensively or defensively. And you can't have a guy that's like a two-way liability, a two-way vulnerability. And as good a player as Taurean Prince is, he's not a starter on the championship team. And you got 2 positions that you got to flip around. One of them's got to be a volume 3-point shooter. You either got to go the Trae Young route or you got to go the Lauri Markkanen route or the Bojan Bogdanovic route. So you get a guy who can really fire up 8 or 9 threes a game and be consistent with it and be a clutch shooter. And you got to go defense and offense. One of those 2 positions has got to be defensive improvement, and one of them has to be an offensive improvement. And if you can pull that off and somehow along with that drag in a Daniel Gafford or a Kelly Olynyk to really add some versatility to your center position, there's no way you can trade for Draymond and be able to get, you just got to choose where you're going to get him for. And I still think the top priority would be Markkanen in my mind, or Markkanen, or I go back and forth. Smart too, because you could get Smart, and then you could put Bogdanovic into that 3 spot, and he could give you the 7 or 8, 9 threes that you need a game to really stretch the floor and create spacing. So that's why I think that being able to take advantage of the Grizzlies maybe and steal. We're repeating what's happening. If you just look at what's been happening with the big guard names going around, what a change Drew Holiday has made. That difference the Bucks are really in trouble because they'll find a way to make that work, but it ain't going to have the defense that they used to have with Drew Holiday. And that's going to make a difference. And you can just see that the missing point for the Lakers is to get a guy who can play that position. I can't believe that it's really, the Celtics are a cold-blooded team, man, because Marcus Smart was the heart of that team. He was the heart and soul of that team, and they flipped him just like they did to Isaiah Thomas, man. Cold-blooded. That's just there. Forget about the loyalty. Forget about the fans. We'll live over that. They'll be back on us when we win. That's their whole attitude toward it. But I love Marcus Smart's heart. He's the kind of guy I'd like to have leading my team. He's the kind of guy I'd like to give the ball to his point guard. I know he takes bad shots sometimes, but he pushes it. He pushes it, and he pushes it defensively, and he's got size and length, and we're building that kind of team. Those are the kind of players that we need to go after. That's just basically where I am philosophically on what trades I'd make. There are lots of guys out there. It'd be great to get a good backup point guard. The guy that the Grizzlies really miss having a good backup point guard. And these are the kind of guys that could be gotten with 2nd-round picks. 3 or 4 2nd-round picks. The Rui trade. I think we're really going to see possibly a Rui trade where we're going to look for a guy that we can pick off with with a bunch of seconds. It seems like seconds are all of a sudden become a lot more valuable than they used to be. I don't know if that's true or not. Just get a feeling for that. I've seen a lot of trades with 3 seconds or even 4 seconds. The Lakers have got 5 seconds to play with. The other side of it too is that there are a lot of teams who are looking to make deals now because the competition is, I mean, between this, there's like 2 games separating between 5th and 9th place in the West. It's like, and it's so competitive that you look at the teams, the Nuggets may be in trouble. I mean, I can't believe Oklahoma City went in there. And
Murray can't stay healthy, Tom. They're in trouble.
Not only that, they can't hit they're not hitting those clutch shots that they hit in the finals against the Lakers. All of those. I mean, it's the same thing you see with the Lakers. All of those guys that buried those shots against us, the next game they can't hit anything. You just got to expect that there is a Lakers curse or a Lakers tax. The Lakers tax is basically you don't get you have to reduce your free throw calls, and it's just natural. And then shooters are going to be hot against us. That's how it always happens. But we need 3-point shooting. We need guard defense, not wings playing guard, not wings who can't shoot playing guards, but guards who can actually shoot. This will be. I'm a little worried that we're going to get Levine. If we do, I'll clap my hands and jump aboard the train and root and pull the horn and toot my whistle as much as I can because he could answer them. I mean, the biggest thing is that his last 4 years as a 3-point shooter have been exactly what we need on offense. If he could stay healthy and just do that, he's not worth $40 million, but it would help. Let's put it that way. If we could have our kind of defense, if we could find a way to play the same kind of defense that we're doing right at the peak when we have everybody healthy and stay healthy, and have one guy who can just bury shots like crazy, then we'll be fine. But we got to find one guy to do that. We better come through with one big shooter, and then there's got to be some effort to try to get him some more shots than just whatever happens during the equal flow of the game. And so I think that's true, because I think, if LeBron's got the ball or Russell's got the ball or whoever's got the ball and we have a Buddy Hield or a Bojan Bogdanovic or a Lauri Markkanen sitting anywhere open, they're going to get the ball to him. They're going to be looking to get the ball to him. They're going to be setting plays up. He'll be the guy setting the screen. For the ball handler, so that he can just slip the screen or do a pick and pop on it. So we need to make changes and we need to make trades, and that's where I'm standing right now. And we all know that none of the trades that we ever talk about ever happen, and usually the trades that happen come out of the blue. That's probably what's going to happen this time. I just hope, I put out a list of all of the players that have been talked about for the Lakers, and as well as ones that I felt the Lakers, just by nature of what they need, should be looking at. And it's a huge list, I mean, I haven't counted. It must have 30 players on there, 30, 40 players. And they range from, $2,400,000 to $40 million. So there's a lot of range there. There's a lot of players that are out there. I think percentage-wise, there must be. I haven't looked at that. That's an interesting stat. Do we have more players on long-term contracts now or not? I think that we have fewer players on long-term contracts, more free agents, in other words. A higher percentage of the available players are probably available in free agency. And if you throw in trade and sign-in trades, probably 20% is untouchable. 20% of the league's untouchable. The LeBrons, the ADs, Tatums and Giannis's. Nobody's going to trade those guys. At least you think so. So anyway, pick the trade that you hate the most. That's what everybody seems to do with me. So let's go on.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It is Lakerholics Spotlight. It is LakerTom in the spotlight today. TraderTom, as it were, talking about NBA trades, proposals. No matter how crazy it got, and no matter how crazy it gets, he's here today joining us. And Draymond Green is pretty damn crazy. I'll just leave it at that. It's so funny because I tried to stream live to Instagram and I had a separate Laker Tom channel because I had Laker Tom going in one side of my brain and the other side of my brain. I just couldn't handle it. So yes, it was on delay. So Instagram was like 30 seconds behind. So I had Tom here and Tom there, and it just it wasn't working out for me. So I had to shut it down for now. So once again, it is Lakers Fast Break. Darren, truly appreciate you stopping by, especially with the super chat. Tom, I know Vando is an incredible defender, but Rui can help you on both ends of the court.
I love Rui, and I don't want to trade him.
But his salary is going to be enticing. I understand that, Darren, in any trade. And I think that's probably the place where most teams would, on the other end of the spectrum, would ask for, as far as that's concerned. But also here today is a good man indeed. He is the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to go ahead and stop on by to talk some NBA trades. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Sean, fantastic to have you here, my friend. He did a sensational job on yesterday's show talking about Darvin Ham, which you can check out on the Lakers Fast Break channel. My friend, Tom has already started the morning with some really crazy thoughts there. I don't know why you would take a person or trade for a person that would be, how should I say, one punch away from getting a indefinite suspension forever or permanent suspensions per se. So I don't understand why you would spend someone.
Banishment, you mean, Gerald?
Yeah, banishment of exactly. Or someone who is, on the other end of his prime so much that it's just not even close, especially someone who's owed, $100 million over 4 years like Draymond Green. That one I thought was a little bit out there.
22 million a year for Draymond Green. That sounds like a bargain.
100 million on Draymond Green.
22 million a year sounds like a bargain.
Let's try 1
Locked up
million.
for 4 years.
No way. I'm with Joe on that one. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. One thing Joe and I can agree on is we do not want Draymond Green on our team. But Magic Man, I will say that Zach LaVine has been part of many rumors that are out there. Supposedly behind the scenes. Imagine that as a clutch client. He has said, "Oh, I want to go possibly be a Laker. I would really kind of like be a Laker." Well, he's from LA. That's great and all, but I'm not a big fan of his game either because, as I mentioned to other commenters out there before in recent days, you're talking about a guy owed $148 million on the life of his contract. Poor knees, getting close to 30, extremely poor defender, and his shooting, which was what he was reviled for, is down to 33%. So I'm not sure I'm seeing a bargain if that's the case, even if you package Caruso with it. So I agree with Tom there. But before we get into the list of trade targets that are out there, including one I'm going to add myself here in a minute, who do you have as possible trade scenarios that you think that you might be interested in that would be a good fit for the Los Angeles Lakers? Can it get any crazier than Draymond Green, my friend?
I don't think so, Gerald. That would be pure carnage as far as trades go. That wouldn't end on Reddit or on Twitter for about a month and a half, I would say. That being said, though, Gerald, I mean, if it's a personnel issue and if it's a scheme issue, Green helps the Lakers immensely, both offensively and defensively. He would make Darvin Ham look like a really good coach at times. Now that being said, some skills have really diminished, and it's questionable whether or not he can ever get them back. I have my doubts, but we'll leave that where it is. Gerald, I think if you look at the landscape across the NBA and what the Lakers and other teams need, I think identifying certain situations is as significant as identifying certain players. So if you were looking at upgrading your guard position, there are a couple teams that immediately stand out. Washington stands out because they have a couple guards that could really help the Lakers. And they're willing to deal with the Lakers, as we know.
Mhm.
The Toronto Raptors have wings, Gerald. They have OG, and they also have Gary Trent. Now, that situation is interesting because Ujiri needs to get something for one of those two, Gerald. He didn't get anything. He didn't get anything for Kawhi Leonard. He barely got anything for Norman Powell, Gerald. He's the only thing that's holding that Norman Powell trade together is Gary Trent Jr. So
And
if
he didn't get anything for Van Vliet.
and he didn't get anything for Freddie either when he left. So he's under immense amount of pressure. I want everybody to understand that. It's true. He's mercurial. He's very rigid. He's at times very hard done by when it comes to making trades. But Ujiri needs to pull the trigger on something here, Gerald. He's got to show Larry Tannenbaum and the MLSE board and the fans that he's doing something, because they do not have a team equipped right now to even get challenged for a plan. The other team that's you got to circle the wagons for is the Pistons. Obviously, terrible, looking to jettison as much salary as they could. And as Thomas said, Bogdanovich is there, and so is Monte Morris. Either one of those guys would help you. One's a guard, one is on the perimeter. That being said, what do you want to give up? Because they wanted a first round pick for Bojan Bogdanovich last year. You're not getting that this year, especially on an
3 seconds.
especially on an expiring. Yeah, I agree with Tom. I think 2 or 3 seconds is admirable compensation for the Pistons. In the West, Gerald, obviously you're looking at a team like the Spurs who would never be willing to deal with us. So let's just cancel that option. So it's really only the Eastern Conference that the Lakers really have any wiggle room to work with, and they're gonna have.
The Jazz in the West.
Yeah, the Jazz are interesting. If you were able, like you said, Tom, if you were able to take the protections off that pick, maybe you offer another unprotected as well for marketing because he's 26. I mean that's also uh the other bugaboo, Gerald, is that when you're making these trades, teams are likely going to want 2 out of the 3
Reeves.
or 3 out of the 4, really. Reeves, Reddish, Vando, and either D'Lo or so you're looking at possibly giving up 3 or 4 of those guys. I would say this: if they wanted both Reddish and Vando in a trade, the answer is absolutely not. You can't have both of them. You
I
can't
wouldn't
take.
give. I wouldn't give up either one of them. Too.
I wouldn't give up either one of them
They're
either.
not
But
enough. There's no money. There's no money there, so you can't even. They don't even work for matching because you end up with too many players going in, so they have to cut people.
yeah, it's just I
It's really tough.
Teams of fans, they love their players more than any other team, and I'm just thinking, the reputation of Austin Reeves outside of the Lakers is questionable. I think there would only be a handful of teams who'd be willing to bring him in. That being said,
I don't know. I almost think differently there. I almost think that.
Remember, you
Is that
cannot
gonna
trade
let the Lakers
Vando, though.
roster
Jared Vanderbilt cannot be part
It's
of
April,
any
yeah.
trade this
Yeah, he
season.
can't be traded. But I think what's going to happen is the Lakers need a trade. Everybody knows that. So the guys that we're going to try to trade for are going to be trades that would justify us giving up a good young player. And believe me, no matter how much the Christie stands would like that to be Max Christie that they're going to ask for, they're going to ask for Austin Reeves because he's on a great contract and he's a great player for that contract. You got a guy who's 15-5-5 guaranteed. He's the most valuable asset that we have to trade.
Max Christie's been horrible this season.
I mean,
so
he's
his
why
trade value is.
Reeves is why Rui has to be traded because you can't trade Reeves. Teams are going to ask for one of the two of them, and Rui's the guy you got to give up because he's got promise. He really has promise, man. I mean, I will agree with it. Listen, I mean, I'm not. I don't want to get into the Darvin Ham discussion, but I will say that Darwin, one of the frustrating things is really not getting a lot more playing time than he should be getting at this point in time, especially considering our shooting needs and our size needs. That just, I'll agree with anybody who's criticizing him for that. But when you get back, you get back to looking at some of these trades that we need to make, it always comes back to the big question, which is, do we have a team good enough to win it now if we don't do anything? And the answer to that, I think, is no, because I think we need a better point guard, a better small forward, and a better backup center. And if we got those three things, or two of those three things, I think that we could be the best team, because I think our players will improve. I think we have more of a ceiling than other teams do because of our age, and maybe except for Oklahoma City because of our age and talent level and the player development orientation of our staff. I think that they really do get better as the year goes on. And it's not just chemistry, but it's actually players playing better, making better decisions, being better players, doing more with their minutes when they're in a game. But I think we have to make a trade. So the question then is, what kind of trade? Can we just playing around the edges do it? 1 for 1 here, a 1 for 1 there, throw in a couple of seconds here, maybe throw in the first with a lot of protection on it, and you upgrade it and you get a Bojan Bogdanovic, you get some players. Or do you really, how high do you shoot? I happen to think Markkanen is the equivalent of a third superstar. I think he's that good, just because of the combination of all of the things that he has. I mean, the guy can shoot like heck. He's 3-level scorer. He's big. He's got a huge body. He seems to be able to stay healthy, and he's young. And he's not really that expensive. He's really cheap at this point. He's going to have a big extension in 2 years. That'll be a max player. But he's the kind of guy that I would give up all of these draft picks for. I like him better than OG. He's better fit for what we need and for where I think the league is going than OG is. Some guy who shoots 8 or 9 threes versus a guy who shoots 3 or 4 threes. I mean, he can single-handedly solve the Lakers' 3-point shooting problem, because he can add 7 or 8 threes to our 30 a game that we take, and immediately we're in the middle of the pack at 37, 38.
Tom, I disagree with you on that. If he's taking 7 or 8 threes a game, that means somebody else is taking less. The team just does not take that many threes.
We take the 30th lowest. We are the least number of threes of any team in the league that we take. But nobody else takes under 30 except for the Lakers.
I've just said that he will not single-handedly fix the problem for the Lakers as far as their 3-point shooting is concerned.
I think that if Buddy Hield, a Bojan Bogdanovic, Lauri Markkanen, a proven high percentage, high volume 3-point shooter, will dramatically increase the number of threes that the Lakers get. Just single-handedly, he'll raise us from 30 to 35 threes just by putting a guy who takes that many threes in a game.
All right. Well, if that's the case, MagicMan. Again, I one player. It's going to take more than one player to change the dynamics on that, in my opinion. But let me go ahead and share with you some of the free agents that are out there. And let's go ahead and I'll share it on the screen here in a sec. Bring it up here. And MagicMan, I want to ask your thoughts on this. When it comes to some of the names that are on the screen here, I put it on here right there. You see Zach LaVine at the top of the list. You see Trae Young at the top of the list. There's one name that should be even higher on the list as far as because his salary is a little higher, because it's based, you see it's structured by salary, but Klay Thompson's name is conspicuously absent. He's going to be a free agent. He has a dad in LA. Yeah. Talk about potential Lakers trade targets on here. His name would
what's the salary now? What's Klay being paid now?
43.
43.
So it would take a Rui. It would take a
D'Lo again.
yeah, D'Lo, Rui, and throw in a Gabe Vincent if he's healthy, because we have to see if he's healthy coming back. He's supposedly coming back this week, so we'll see how he is. But here's another name that could be thrown around there in the mix. But you've got Zach LaVine at 40 million, Trey Young at 40 million, Sean, Pascal Siakam, you see, Kyrie Irving, Carl Anthony Towns, Darius
Gerald,
Garland.
you understand the list is in financial order of the salary.
I just mentioned that to our audience.
Okay.
Yes.
It was not a list of who I think is the number one.
No. This is
I
all
don't,
as far as based
want
on
to make
this
sure you
note.
understand
Yes.
that.
Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell, DeMar DeRozan, Jeremy Grant. You see the list that's right there, my friend. Does anybody stick out to you, my friend, as a possible good trade scenario? You mentioned Gary Trent Jr. That's definitely someone who the Lakers could be interested in. Do you see anyone else there that stands out there, Sean?
You know what, Gerald? I'm I hate to say this, but I'm kind of in the boat with Tom. I think for whatever reason, the Lakers are tied to Levine for whatever reason, and something I got just this sneaky spidey sense that something may happen there. And
it's right up. It's right up there. It's right up there, man.
and it's complicated. You can't include Vando. They'll probably want Reddish and Rui. It's they're gonna want a lot of our youth.
They can give many of those any of the potential free agents is fine, but Reddish has got to be kept.
Reddish has to be kept. Yes, 100%.
He's untouchable as far as I'm concerned.
I've never thought I'd hear those words anybody would say about Cam Reddish at any time at point.
Well, his defense has been that significant to the Lakers, Gerald.
I understand that, MagicMan, but no.
Not only that, his offense has been better than we hoped for.
That the grouping in the middle here, that's interesting. I don't think Dallas is going to be willing to part with Kyrie to the Lakers for any kind of upgrade, even if they thought
unless they bomb totally or something.
Yeah, there's no way Cuban does that. Cat, interesting too, but again, Minnesota's in first place right now. I doubt they make any big moves. They have their stamp.
Cleveland has been on a hard times, MagicMan.
Yes. Yes.
So your thoughts there as far as the smaller backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Darius is out right now with an injury, but he'll be back. Donovan Mitchell.
Their bigger front court has also failed. They had this tiny backcourt and giant front court, and neither one of them have worked.
Yes.
So that's interesting, Gerald. I will say this. I'm skeptical. I'd be really skeptical of trading for Donovan Mitchell right now. De'Aaron Fox just turned down a huge extension from the Sacramento Kings because he wants to test free agency when the new TV deal comes into effect, Gerald. And it's also an open secret that he's going to walk away from the Cavs as well. So
he wants to go to the Knicks, I think.
Yes, that's what I've heard as well.
Let's.
So, I mean, that
don't want to get in the way of that.
No, you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face there. Garland is interesting, Gerald. I question kind of the Cavs move there about bringing him in because it's reduced Garland's efficiency dramatically. Would you trade for Darius Garland, Gerald?
He's probably going to be thought of as too high. The package would probably be too great. There is no untouchable on the Lakers outside LeBron and AD.
But are you worried about his size?
Cam Reddish as a minimum salary player should be someone that should be considered in a trade for the right individual. But MagicMan, when it comes to Darius Garland, that's a pretty high price to pay for someone who might have some defensive issues again when it comes to what we would see in the playoffs, because he is.
Let's roll the list up to DeMar DeRozan at the top, because I think that those guys in the 30s and 40s.
Well, he's right there. He's in the 20s. He's right there in the middle of the screen.
But the guys that I think are really interesting are the ones in the teens.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's put DeMar DeRozan here at the top. His name has been bandied about along with many of the other Chicago Bulls.
See, now we're getting into the heart of where I think the Lakers should be looking, because there are guys in this list here who can solve our shooting problem. There's guys in the list or make a big dent in it. There's guys who can really solve the point guard playmaking issue. Unfortunately, there's nobody in here that I see that can solve the center problem. But Jared Allen's an interesting possibility. I mean, I don't think we're going to pay $20 million for a center, but I mean, I'm tired of paying $2 million for a center and having the guy be a bomb. Give me $12 million, give me $12 to $15 million for a good center. It's worth it, because then you get a second guy to play next to AD and a second guy who can cover when AD sits. It's really an important position,
I will say this, though, when it comes to what you're seeing is when you scroll down the list as far as it's concerned, MagicMan and Tom, DeJounte Murray's name kind of stands out, but you see the number now, but it also gets dramatically bigger because of the extension that he signed. So
right.
Would you be interested in a DeJounte Murray there, Sean?
You know what, Gerald? I might be interested in him. I'm more to solidify a center position. If Atlanta really wants to deal, I'd be more interested in somebody like Clint Capella.
Okay, well, they would want to get rid of Clint Capella because of his contract and
his
age.
What's Clint make, Gerald?
I will check that out right now while you're doing that. So while you guys are checking out, are there any other possibilities right there for you?
What about Brogdon? What about Brogdon?
Yeah, well, Bogdan from the Atlanta Hawks is also
younger than Boyan.
Yes, he's only 29, I believe. I think he'll be 30 in the summer. But yeah, he'd be a great wing to have alongside LeBron AD. Very good catch and shoot player. Wouldn't need the ball in his hands a lot to create for others as well.
Just to let you know, Capella's at 20 this year, 22 next, and that's the end of his contract.
It's a little high for center, but
well, that's why Atlanta wants to get rid of him. Plus, they have Okongwu that they've been wanting to put in the starting spot forever because he's never earned it on his own. He's shown a lot of promise, but he's shown a lot of promise now for several years. How much more can you show this promise for him to deliver? Go ahead, MagicMan.
Yeah, Gerald, it's been 5 years waiting on the backup center now.
Yeah.
We're approaching 5.5. When you acquired AD, one of the first things everybody kind of recognized was, well, there's a slight injury history here, and he definitely needs an adequate backup center because he had one in New Orleans.
Yeah. And we need to get Daniel Gafford.
Somebody.
Gafford, and now the Wizards, we've always had a good relationship with them, but they just changed general managers, didn't they? They fired what's his name?
Yes, they did. But how much of a leap is he above Jackson Hayes? Seriously.
He averages in 20 minutes a game, he's averaging 2 blocks and 1 steal.
Third worst team in the league.
I've watched him play. He's a great finisher, and he is a dramatic improvement. He might not start. Okay, if you get Valanciunas from the Pelicans, he could start, and he's like $16 million. Yes, Gafford is like $12 million. He possibly could start, but he would be he's a great rim protector and defensive player, and dunker.
I'm
with Sean on the backup center is really a big issue, man, because how many games what do you think? How many games do you think AD is going to miss the rest of the year? Right now, you can make those off his losses.
Yeah, I'd say anywhere from 5 to 10.
Those are losses right now. That's 5 to 10 losses. You can get 5 to 10 wins right now by getting a good backup center. That may be more than you'd get. Well, that's got to be as much as you could get from a better starting point guard or better starting small forward. Frankly, 10 wins.
if you were able to go and get a Valanciunas, he adds you size and the ability to stretch the floor
Yeah.
and at a reasonable contract. That's something,
Mhm.
yes. But I'm sure Griffith would want something as done as far as a
Well,
package
you
is
know what's
concerned to
interesting
take the
about that?
players that he doesn't want off his
Yeah.
team.
Think about what we have with what we were talking about with the Jazz. We have a pick. They have a pick of ours. How much protection is on that pick? It's 24 or 25. Part of the deal we could fix it at 25, so we could use 24 to get a certain player at SC.
I would not I would not waste it. Right now, he is not ready. He is not ready. If you're just getting it for LeBron, that's a mistake because he is not
What if you're
ready. As
getting
we're
it for LeBron and a 2-year extension for LeBron?
again, why would you want to waste a first round draft
I don't
pick
know.
for
I
a
don't
player
know.
that's not ready?
I
You
don't
see
know.
him
I don't know if he's
today.
not ready. I actually happen to think that I watched him play. I
He's
watched
not
him play.
ready.
He's probably the best defensive player on that team.
He is not ready. The kid's just started his college career. Let's give him some.
Yeah,
He
but
needs,
listen, but look at all I'm trying to say is that you could take the protection off of the 25, make him pick 25, take the protection off the 25, so we got the 24 to use this summer. And all of a sudden, you've got a hand in to go after Valanciunas because you can improve that pick that they got. You can turn that pick into an unprotected pick.
Magic Man.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. Well, let me ask you this, Magic
Is
Man.
that worth a good backup center, a guy who would start at center?
You talk about Magic Man when it comes to Washington. Daniel Gafford being a good option for the Lakers. LakerTom seemed to agree with that. He's not going to come without a package. The Wizards would probably want to dump Jordan Poole in our laps because of his gaudy contract that's out there. So they're going to attach with. If you want Gifford, it's going to come with a price. What about Poole?
Not necessarily.
Yes,
We give them
necessarily.
3 seconds.
If you're a smart GM, you want to get rid of your bad contracts along with the players that teams do want. If you're a smart GM,
Gerald, you pick up the phone and you talk to the guy and you find out if a deal can be made. That's all we're saying. This is a guy you chase.
well, I'm telling you the realities of the situation. You can't take the good without the bad in these trades unless you give them a whole lot. And the Lakers,
There are no untouchables on the Washington Wizards, Gerald.
there's I
Come on.
didn't say. Come on, Tom. Think
Come
about
on.
it.
There's a trade to
about
be made for Daniel Gafford. Maybe
Okay,
we don't.
and
Maybe we're not willing to give up what it is. But what are you saying? Don't even go try to. Who do you want to get to center? Who's your answer? Who's your solution?
Did you not hear what I said? If you're going to go after Gafford, you're probably going to have to take something else that the Washington Wizards want to get rid of in return, or provide them with multiple picks. The thing is that Lakers don't have that many picks to go ahead and reference on that, Magic Man.
Well,
So
nobody's going to give anything but second-round picks for Daniel Gafford, so we can give second-round picks for him. I'm not worried about that, but I'm not going to give a first-round pick for him.
But if you look at,
you're going to have to get him in a package, most likely.
Yeah, because if you look at the Wizards' salary cap here, other than at the top of the list, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 players, 6, excuse me, that the Lakers could potentially identify on the Wizards for helping them. Now, Gerald's right. You probably
I would probably try to, if I would, and now in
counter,
I would probably say, Sean, try to ask for Corey Kispert would be an individual.
Right, Gerald. He's right down here.
Yes.
Yeah, make less than $4 million. Pretty good shooter.
If you could steer them away from Jordan Peele and go in that direction, that would be much more apropos.
Well, nobody's going to take Jordan Peele's contract.
Absolutely, because Kispert, Denny Advia,
or Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones would be who I'd really want.
There's 5 or 6 guys we're seeing on that roster that look like they could effectively help the Lakers in more ways than one. Kuzma helps the Lakers with his scoring and his defense. Gafford with his shooting, his defense, and as Thomas said, he provides 25 tough minutes a night. Tyus Jones is a playmaker.
It's
So
amazing
there
how many
are a
good
number.
players there are on terrible teams, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So
God.
the Wizards are going to be very active, and they really need to strip it down to the studs here, Gerald, because they've also missed badly on some of their drafts as well. Johnny Davis, Johnny Davis had a great senior year at Wisconsin, Gerald, but I'm pretty sure you would also agree you didn't think he should have been in the lottery.
No, he was someone who was very disappointing. I had him rated lower, and so did most draft analysts. And that's a story of Washington in a nutshell. They've missed and whiffed on several draft picks, even to an extent Rui Hashimura, because obviously it didn't pan out for them as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, they're
and Gerald, we also have to remember because we're kind of in a hard cap, soft cap zone with the CBA, Washington is obligated to pay somebody or some people because they have a floor to meet. And I agree with what Gerald is saying. They want to force somebody else to take one of their bad contracts. I just think they're gonna have to sit on it with Poole for a couple years, Gerald.
Mhm.
Kuzma's the contract that they can likely move with very little teeth gnashing.
That's true. He is still a desired player at this point in time. Poole has disappointed. We thought he would probably be a 20 plus point a game
How
scorer in the
big is
league.
Poole's contract? Is it in the
It's
30s?
massive. It's massive. He's still got 4 years left after this one.
Yeah, and
And he's
that's
how much per year?
It goes up. Yeah,
Where
here,
does
let me take a look here, Tom.
yeah. It's I can look it up as well right here. So when it
So
comes
his
to Jordan,
contract goes from 29 this year, 27 this year, 29.6 in 24-25. It
yeah,
balloons to 31.8 in 25-26. And then when he's 27, he'll be making 34 million.
he's going to have to get down to a minimum player before he changes his game, man. It's going to be a long ride. Oh,
NV, we're gonna see. I don't see the Bulls moving Caruso. I really don't. I think it's all smoke and
I
mirrors.
I think they do. I think
I
they
think
do,
they
but
do.
because the bidding war for Caruso is just going to get too sweet, Magic Man. I think they're gonna ask for two first
Mhm.
round draft picks for him in a package. So I really think that if somebody bites on it, I didn't say the Lakers. I said if somebody bites on it, he's going to definitely be traded at that point. But when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, Magic Man, there are several players that could be up on the trade block for them. Io DeSumo, Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, and yes, of course, Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's been much talked about with our audience as far as back and forth on yes or no. I know that there's a lot of people out there that also like DeRozan. I'm not a big fan of DeRozan's game. I just don't think it fits on the Lakers. I think it fits on certain teams. Him coming off the bench would be amazing for certain teams. For us, I don't think it would be a great fit just because of the fact we're so inept at shooting at this point in time. But one name that's out there, or actually not very much out there, is Kobe White as a point guard that could come off the bench for us and provide a little bit of a spark. He's averaging 17 points on the season. He's averaging not too bad from three, and actually providing some good quality minutes for the team. Would he be somebody that Sean that you might be interested in?
Yes, Gerald. Yes, absolutely. I'd like somebody else attached to that personally. Like if you're gonna have Colby White in that trade, if if I'm giving up Brewy or Austin Reeves or somebody of that ilk, you're gonna have to make me your brother somehow and include either Pat Williams or Io if you're not gonna include Alex Caruso in a deal like that. Because it's necessary for the Lakers to if you're gonna trade a package for Colby White, then you seriously either have to make sure you can upgrade on the wings or the wings are pretty secure. But again, Gerald, as we've seen, the Bulls need a couple things. They have pretty good defenders on their team, but they don't play good team defense. And they have a massive hole at the center position. So it's not like we can help them there. So, yeah, I would be interested in
We'll give him Jackson Hayes. We'll give him Jackson Hayes and Chris Wood.
Yeah, I mean, any deal with a potential guard or a backup center, Christian Wood's got to be involved. Tom, I agree.
Well, remember, but they don't. They're as minimum players. They don't take much. They don't take much in their salary. As far as it's concerned.
No, but Gerald, as Tom stated it better than any of us ever could. We need to secure that backup center position. We've had that problem for 5 years now.
Rotating
Wood
nightmare.
Wood and Jackson in concert, in conjunction with each other, does not produce the requisite effect for having a basic competent backup center. We need so another guy that's up here, Tom. You put Lauri Markkanen. How do you feel about Kelly Olynyk, Tom?
I love Kelly Olynyk. I would go after. The thing about Olynyk is that he's not a great rim protector, but everything else you want from a center, setting screens, being smart, passing, he's up to 4 assists per game, rebounding, driving and attacking, and most importantly, 3-point shooting and stretching the floor. He's just terrific in that position.
He is, Tom. I agree 100%.
I wouldn't. The thing about him is that he is a guy you can put in. I mean, it's funny. I've seen several guys talking about how we need a defensive force at center to back up AD. And every time I look at that article, every one of them includes Kelly Olynyk, and they say, well, listen, I know he doesn't do that exactly what we need, but boy, he does all of these other things that are so Lakers-like that it's a perfect fit. He's one of those guys who does all 3 stats just like Reeves does, just like LeBron does, just like, that's the formula. You got guys who can shoot, rebound, and pass and do all 3 of those things well in the context of their teammates. They're great teammates.
Yeah, he's probably the most. All due respect to Karl Anthony Towns.
I take Olynyk over Towns.
I would say Olynyk's the most versatile power forward in the NBA. He's played in a double big lineup. He played beside Al Horford. He's played in a small ball lineup as a power forward with Bam Adebayo. He's played beside Lauri Markkanen. He's played beside Walker Kessler. He's a very versatile front court player. I agree with Tom. And Gerald, don't think that because he plays in sleepy little Utah that other contenders aren't after Kelly Olynyk. And I know a lot of people want to point, well, Kelly Olynyk just strikes me as another guy, just another guy, right? Well, let's see. He's been on the Boston Celtics, who have pretty smart front office people, and Brad Stevens, Joe Mazzulla, and at that time, Danny Ainge. He's gone to the Miami Heat with Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra. He's gone again to the Utah Jazz with Danny Ainge and Will Hardy. Smart basketball people try to acquire Kelly Olynyk for the obvious reason. He's a productive, effective player. A lot of people don't like the way he plays, Gerald, because he's a little rough around the edges, as Kevin Love could tell you.
Yeah.
And
his arm.
But Kelly Olynyk is another one of those guys. You hate him when he's not on your team, but you love him when he is. He's like a Dylan Brooks. He's like a Marcus Smart. You hate the fact that you got to play against him, but when he's on your team, he's very effective.
I think that that's why he's on my trade with Lauri. I mean, if you could get Lauri and Kelly, you're giving up your protection on your 27 pick, and you're giving them 2 pick swaps, which are essentially unprotected picks. And it's interesting because Danny Ainge is going to have to do a hell of a job, or else the pick swaps could be worthless in a situation like that. But he's also probably the only GM who's really going to be here in 28 and 29. who, could actually see himself using those picks. 3 shots at a top 5 pick. That's basically what you're talking about. The Lakers trading if they try to get that. But those 2 players would Marcus Smart and those 2 guys are the 3 players that I have to fit all of those 3 things: the starting point guard, the starting small forward, and the backup center.
Okay. Well, again, our audience, has varying opinions of her own, including Colin Castleton, which is still hilarious to me. The kid's not ready. Did you see him get used and abused? It's funny how are the memories.
He's a year from being a year away from being ready.
You see how badly he was abused by Alperen Sengun. Do we not remember how badly he was abused by Alperen Sengun? The kid is not ready.
Also abused a lot of better players.
That means he's not ready, Tom. Yeah. Castleton is not ready. No. He's ready to come in when you're losing by 20 to the San Antonio Spurs like he was on Friday night, but he is certainly not ready to play NBA primetime basketball. If you're going to go to war in the playoffs with Colin Castleton right now, you are in for a lot of trouble. So let's just put that out of the box. People just got to stop with Colin Castleton. Stop.
Who's the backup center on the Grizzlies who did so well against us?
Oh, are you talking about Santi Aldama?
No.
Is it Kenny Lofton Jr., Tom?
No, there's a veteran. There's a veteran that was on the Grizzlies that.
Yeah, I know. I think I know who you're talking about.
That when Adams went down.
You're not talking about Triple J.
No, he's not. He's not talking about there's
so
one more player.
It was so look are you thinking of Valanciunas, Tom? Because Valanciunas and Adams got traded for
Xavier Tillman is who he's talking about.
Tillman is who I'm talking about.
He has struggled mightily this season. Absolutely this season. Yes, he has
he was great last year.
He started this season because of the injuries and whatnot as their center, and he has struggled mightily to say the least.
Well, it's so frustrating. Do you know that every game we've played, the other team's backup centers, who are all no-name centers, have been better than our backup centers? That's what really kills me, that we can't even compete with the second string guys. I mean, Hayes has just been such a disappointment. If Wood could goddamn hit his shots, I mean, my God, his shot has just disappeared. So there's still a chance that he could hit it.
That's partly because of coaching, because he's not allowed to. He is a shooter.
Well, there's no rhythm in there, and he doesn't handle the ball in traffic.
But he's just not athletic enough to keep up on the defensive end. Just put that out there. But MagicMan, of all the sensible trades that are out there, I'd probably say Atlanta. If you were able to go ahead and look at DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella, probably
or Trae Young. Let's talk about Trae Young for a second, because wait. Trae Young does a couple of things that no other trade target can do. First off, he gives you a truly elite point guard who can dish and can score. And he's a clutch client.
Who cares about that? I don't care about that. I know they care about that, but I don't care about that.
Well, if they care about it, then it's a factor, Gerald, and you can't just ignore it.
But he absolutely hurts you on the defensive end.
Sure, he's like 10th on my list of possible trades. But the simple fact is that if you compare, because every trade that you consider involving what you give up for the other guy who's at the exact same salary, okay, you can just simply switch this over, because if you're willing to pay X, Y, and Z for Levine, and you look at Trae Young, a lot of your risks that you have with Levine, you don't have with Trae Young. He doesn't have a bad injury history. He's younger. He's a point guard, so you don't need to solve the point guard problem. And he's a great point guard. I mean, he is one of the best point guards and one of the best shooters in the league. So he's got that in his favor. He's a volume 3-point shooter. He solves that problem right away like Levine does. Now, he's going to cost a lot more.
So you want the point guard for a 10 and 15 team?
I think that one of the top 3 priorities of the Lakers is to find a championship caliber point guard.
But is he?
Every year,
I don't
every
think he
day
is.
that LeBron plays, it becomes more and more important.
And the way he plays defense and such a defensive liability, I disagree with
Well, no,
I don't
I
think
haven't
he's a
proposed that.
championship.
I'm just saying, let's look at Trae Young versus Zach LaVine, because I think there's a lot of. I think there are some reasons why Trae Young, if you were going to go that route of getting a $40 million superstar, frankly, I might prefer to give up more and get Trae Young.
But then if you spend $40 million on Trae Young, which is how much he is right now, then you run the risk of not only of gutting your team, but not getting as much back.
You just go down to a 10-man rotation. It's a 3-for-1 trade. You go to a 10-man rotation.
You give up 3 players. Again, Atlanta would have to be interested in those 3 players.
Sure, of course, every trade has got to be like that, Gerald. And there's all the other.
I've seen your trades. Not everybody would. If you're an NBA GM, it's you're on the other end.
And I'm just saying that there's a reason. There's good reason to think that if the Lakers were convinced that they needed to go for a 3rd superstar right now, that I might prefer Trae Young over the risks of going after Zach LaVine.
I would, if you're going out of Atlanta, I would try to go after Murray, Capella.
I would do. I would do
maybe
that
if
too.
you could get him Bogdanovich on top of it. Yeah.
I would do that same exact thing. I'm not saying I would trade for Trae Young. I'm saying I would trade for Trae Young before I trade for Zach LaVine.
Yes. I think we can all agree about that, Tom.
I think we can too. But MagicMan, you're asking for. I'm just telling you, if I'm going to Atlanta, if you're going Atlanta one direction, I'm going Atlanta in the other direction. But MagicMan, you mentioned in your comments right there that you love Smart. He has struggled mightily from outside this year. Boston may have been on to something that maybe the other rest of the league wasn't on to as of yet.
Or being dealt like that by Boston might be one of the reasons why he's not thinking very positively right now.
Because he might be on the downside of his career because he's getting close to the big 3-0. His numbers have kind of dwindled down both last year and
28 to 32 is the peak. He's still right in the lower part of the peak.
Well, again, his shooting is not at the lower part of the peak. That's for sure.
You're looking at a situation where he's in a new city and a new team that's doing terrible.
Oh man, and how would that be different if he goes to a new city in the Los Angeles Lakers?
It's a change in environment, a different coaching staff, a positive. You've seen how it turns around in Los Angeles. You saw what happened with Malik Monk. You saw what happened with Lonnie Walker. You saw what happened with. Lonnie
Walker's shooting better outside of the Lakers. Malik Monk.
Well, the Lakers, he got his chance to turn his career around and refresh it. There's a reasons to believe that coming to the Lakers can help a player become better because of the coaching staff and the player development orientation of that staff. We've seen that over and over. Whether you dislike how Darvin Ham substitutes or who he plays and gives minutes to, you can't deny that the guys play hard for the guy, and that players who come here, even Christian Wood, who isn't even playing now, the players who come here believe in this guy.
I mean, Z and everybody, so many other people, MagicMan, are talking about the Lakers curse when it comes to shooting, that you automatically lose 4 or 5 points, percentage points off your 3-point percentage.
That's because most guys aren't playing with 2 superstars who have the ball a lot.
I don't know. I'm just saying what other people are saying in regards to the Lakers shooting curse, Magic.
You're just trying. Why are you using the excuse of other people? Why don't you just say I'm saying that?
I don't want it because I don't believe it. I don't believe in the Lakers curse. I don't believe in this fact that you put on a Lakers uniform and automatically your shooting gets worse.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that.
But
I do think there's one element, the bright lights. There are some guys who can't handle the bright lights.
Well, Lonnie Walker Jr. But let's put this in perspective, though. Lonnie Walker Jr. has been out for quite a spell with injuries. So while he's been shooting better, MagicMan and Tom, he's not been healthy. Let's just put it that way.
And Gerald,
I think that where you play has a lot to do. The environment that you're playing in has a
Well, again,
awful lot to do with how players play.
we've said that on the show before, Tom. And Matt, I'm going to get to you and make sure you get to talk here in a second. I will just say we've said this on the show many times. It's the situation. That's why certain Lakers players that have not flourished with the Lakers play better elsewhere, like Mo Wagner, Kyle Kuzma. Although he had his moments with the Lakers, you talk about, like I said, you said Lonnie Walker, and also as well Malik Monk. They've played better outside, like, but then again, other players like Cam Reddish are playing better than they ever have before in their entire career with the Lakers. It all depends on how they fit within a certain scheme and a certain organization. But Magic Man, you have some thoughts as far as some alternatives. I know you wanted to go ahead and talk about possible trade targets out there before we head on out.
Yeah, and I agree with everything Gerald just got through saying. So, other than that, Gerald, what Tom stated at the beginning, I think, is the actual order that the Lakers should try and address or mediate these issues. So, backup center, playmaking point guard, and a wing defender that could shoot. One of those you're likely going to have to deal with on the waiver wire, Gerald, in the buyout market. You're just going to have to identify one of those situations is going to have to be addressed through the buyout market because, as Gerald alluded to, you just don't have the draft capital on top of the young players that are wanted, so to speak, badly around the NBA. I mean, every team thinks they've got great young players. I think we do. It's just it's a matter of taste in the NBA when you're making a trade. So if you're looking at Gerald, they're probably going to do the same thing they've done the past 3 or 4 years. Wait for the buyout market and address a need at the backup center position. Unfortunately, that's the modus operandi in which Pelinka moves. So if you're going to look to acquire, that playmaking point guard, Gerald, I'm trying to go through all the permutations and what else is left because I think we've covered a lot of it. Unless it's a move that Pelinka makes that's not on the radar that we're not discussing, and it just comes out of the blue. I mean, we didn't talk about D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley as trade targets last year, Gerald? But as it happens, that trade just it didn't create legs on its own. I'm sure Danny called Rob Pelinka and asked him, "You like these two guys? Well, here's what it's going to cost you." I think if there's a move to be made, I think that's the one that's going to happen. The players and the details were not even focused on in front of mind.
I know that they're talking about Tim Hardaway Jr. He is very up and down as a shooter. We saw how well he can play with the highs of highs against the Lakers earlier this week, and then we saw what you didn't see is if you check the box scores is the next game, whereas the lows. So again,
Grant Williams, the Tim Hardaway Jr. shot combined 1 of 14 from 3 against the Wolves.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is very one-dimensional, but he is a volume shooter, Tom, which you like. 17 points a game, average.
Well, he's been a volume shooter. He's a volume shooter on the stats right now, but he doesn't appear on those volume stats in any other year. So it's.
And Gerald,
what happens with these guys is that it's funny. You don't find anybody on the volume list who really can't shoot, unless it's a Westbrook or some oddity like that. Where why are they, or LeBron? LeBron was on the list last year. He was shooting 30%. Now he's shooting 40% now, so it's a big difference. But pretty much those guys who shoot those 7, 8, 9, 10 threes a game, they all got a history of pretty good shooting, and they do it every year. And I think those are the kind of guys who you can bring into the Lakers, and they won't have the bright lights curse, and they won't have the other curse, which is not being good enough for the other Laker players to look for them. They look to get them that shot because they trust them.
Go ahead, Matt.
Tim Hardaway Jr.'s playoff production is all over the map, Gerald.
Yeah.
I understand a lot of people love him in the regular season, similar to D'Lo,
Well,
but
we were on We
his
Talk
play
Mavs, and
is
they were like, you know,
stay
it's
away. Yeah,
yeah.
stay away.
Yeah.
His playoff production is just up and down. His 3-point shot was broken in Atlanta, Gerald, and he shot okay a couple years ago, and he shot really well last year. But it's a small sample size, man, because Dallas has trouble getting out of the first round most years.
Right.
And why do they have trouble getting out of the first round most years? Well, a lot of their cap allocation is tied up in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Rashawn Holmes and all these players that don't impact winning. That's my insistence with Tim Hardaway Jr. Love skill sets that he possesses. Doesn't lack for confidence. It's just that shooting is just so all over the map. I don't think he's
Frank
going
is a
to be.
Dallas fan, and he's ready to give him up, MagicMan. That's all I'll say.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
all. That should
Well,
always be a bad
if we
sign.
judge that game he played against us, he looked like the best shooter in the world, man.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
just
he,
because he's well against us doesn't mean he'll shoot well for
no.
us. How many times have we seen that before?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, when you talk about who can solve the Lakers shooting problems, I think I can list them on one hand. You know, it's pretty easy. Markkanen can do it. I think Buddy Hield could do it. I think Bojan Bogdanovic could do it. I think Trae Young could do it, and I think that. Okay, I'll even say Zach LaVine could do it. Those are five guys who I don't think are going to shoot fewer threes or make fewer threes in the Lakers.
And you know what's interesting about this whole situation, Gerald? I find it kind of humorous. Is that it's not as if the Lakers haven't tried to get better shooting in here. They've tried. They've tried.
But better shooting in the form of
Mike Muscala, Lonnie Walker Jr., Jason Capono. We'll go all the way back to Terry Teagle, Gerald. It's not as if they just sit on their laurels and not make moves. They try and acquire shooters. It's up to the coaching staff and the players around that player to put them in positions where they succeed. Gerald,
and the player
Glenn-
because Beasley was exactly what they needed, but he just couldn't make the shots.
Glenn Rice didn't forget how to shoot when he came to the Lakers, Gerald. And he didn't forget how to shoot after. It's just in between that was the problem.
Yeah.
Jason Capono won a 3-point contest for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Couldn't shoot a pea into an ocean with us, but they tried. This curse crap, Gerald. It's not a curse. Curses are fantasy. That's from make-believe, voodoo stories. There's no curse. They haven't had the proper fine-tuning of shooters in the Lakers system. It's just that simple. You can get mad and throw your arms up in the air and say, "Oh, the Lakers are cursed." Well, no, it's not a question of that. It's a question of for some reason it hasn't worked out for the most part, but there are some exceptions.
The problem is that you can't. There's a huge difference between a guy who takes 3 or 4 threes a game and a guy who takes 8 or 9 threes. And it's the same difference between the guy who can score 20 points per game once every 10 games and the guy who will score 20 points per game 9 out of every 10 games. It's a player who is elite at doing what he does. And the guys who shoot 7 to 10 threes, Beasley was really the only one of those guys recently that we've had. And unfortunately, he just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the pressure. He just did not shoot well, and he flopped. But the main reason is what's so crazy about the math of the 3-point shooting differential that we suffer is that you cannot, even if you shoot extremely well, if you only take 33s a game, you're losing that differential because Other teams are taking 40 threes a game or 45 threes like the Mavericks take. So you can't compete against those teams, even winning all of the points. You have to do everything perfect. You have to win the points in the paint, the second chance points, the made free throws battle. You have to win every single one of the fast break points. You're going to win every single one of those to overcome that shooting differential because of the volume, because you can't win on taking 33s a game. So it's not getting better shooters. It's getting high volume shooters.
So you don't care if they make them or miss them. It's just, just
No,
take
that's come on, Gerald. That's not a fair assumption.
Well, that's what you're phrasing it.
Obviously, the only guys who are going to be allowed on any team to shoot 10 threes are guys who are going to be shooting 40% or LeBron James. One or the other. You can't bring a guy who shoots 3 or 4 a game and expect him to become a 7 or 8 shot a game shooter. That's not the way it is. By the time they get into the pros, they're at one level or another. They're a guy who's got the balls and the confidence to take all of those shots, and he's going to take them, and his teammates are going to find him because they know he makes a good percentage of them. Those are the guys. You got to get a guy like that. It doesn't mean so. That's that. What does that eliminate? It eliminates maybe getting a guy like Anunoby who's 3 or 4. You're going to pay out all of your draft picks and everything to get a guy who shoots 3 or 4 threes a game. He's a great defender. He fits perfectly, but he's not going to solve your offensive problem. And your offensive problem is you got to take more threes. You have to take more threes to compete. Otherwise, you have such a disadvantage against those teams that shoot a lot of threes.
You also have to make them as well. That would be.
Of course, you have to make them.
You got to make them.
Yes.
But the correlation is really the made threes. It's your made 3-pointers that count. How many 3-pointers do you make a game? We make 9.7 a game. Other teams are making 12, 13, 15. And when you take the percentages and move it back, those percentages don't really matter. It's the volume. You cannot score as stupid as it sounds, you can't make them if you don't take them.
I know, Tom. That's the right philosophy in basketball and with trying to find a date.
It's true. It's so true, and that's
the more volume you have, the more likely it is you'll get a better outcome.
Not only that, but I'll tell you what: the more times you put yourself out there, the better you're going to be at doing whatever it is you're doing, because there's experience, there's a rhythm to things. There's all of these things that go along with it. The Lakers are trying to get into the modern age, but they still have one thing that they're holding on to, which is important, which is that defense comes first. Now, the league is trying to make that not happen. The league is doing everything they can so that, no, it's offense that counts first. And realistically, in the NBA, because the players are so damn great offense does beat great defense. But we can shrink the floor for people when we got 5 guys out there who are almost 7 foot length, and they're fast and they're athletic and so forth, and they can really defend. Then all of a sudden that court becomes so small. There becomes no lanes to throw the ball. You can double guys, and when you notice when the Lakers are doubling guys out at half court, that pass takes so long to get down to into the key that LeBron is like taking off when the ball is thrown, and he's running like 10 yards before he intercepts the thing, because the pressure is so great and the length is so great of the defense. That's why I believe we need to go after Marcus Smart, because we need a point guard who can play defense the way the rest of the team can play defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. A footnote, Gerald, you got to, as you've both alluded to this, Tom has in this pod, you got to find almost the right player to put in between AD and LeBron at this point, Gerald, especially on the wing. So you have Jared Vanderbilt, at least for this year, because you can't trade him. So you need to find a wing that is both active and productive, can shoot a little bit, and can play the kind of defense you need in a playoff series. Because as we know, Gerald, Vando's lack of offense and LeBron's coasting on defense for 2 or 3 quarters is hyper exposed in the playoffs, magnified, microscopic. Like those 4 or 5 minutes where LeBron is coasting, and he does coast for all you LeBron stands out there. He does coast. You have to mitigate that because Vando's offense is nullifies any kind of impact LeBron has defensively. So you have to find the right wing in that instance. Like the playmaking guard and the backup center, we know those two can identify somebody with those skills. But that wing, that's the fly in the ointment right now.
And one of them's got to be a great volume 3-point shooter. One of them's got to be the guy who scares the other team. You know.
Before we close it out with Tom, and once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break, Lakerholics Spotlight on LakerTom and his trading ways. Here today to join us here for his thoughts on what's going on is the man behind Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. It's got the Pittsburgh Steelers hat going on. It is Joe Soro. Joe, you wanted to jump on, so jump on you do. I know it must be something because if you're watching football and you want to jump on to say something, you know it's got to be good. Go ahead, my friend.
I'm just curious on some of the, what's the word?
Trade proposals?
Ideas.
Yes.
The reality of quality players coming to the Lakers in a trade is which quality player will demand to be traded this year? That's the question. So the first sort of demand, it's not really a demand, it's just more of an olive branch, is Zach LaVine. Now, Zach LaVine, I believe, would have been traded by now if he wasn't making so much money. So whomever does decide to pick him up will obviously have to decide on how they want to handle the remaining parts of his contract. The Lakers won't be one of those players, unfortunately, unless they give up somebody like Austin Reeves. But the Lakers have 2 options this season. Their option is to Gerald hope that LeBron and AD stay healthy and play like madmen, or you have to figure out a way to give up what talent you have for someone who's better than what you have in the most important part of the solution to the Lakers' woes game in and game out, which is, can we sustain a lead? Can we dominate without LeBron on the court, AD on the court? I don't know who those players are. I don't know who's going to be available. It's a very weird last few years with the whole talent trades and all that. You don't really see too many. You only see the Kyrie thing where it's just so bad that you got to get rid of, or Harden where you just got so bad where you got to get rid of those guys. And those guys tend to not want to. You don't want those guys on your team typically because they kind of distract from the greater goal. They haven't won anything in all their mishaps. If you look at Kyrie and James Harden, you're not winning anything with those guys, no matter how many times.
Look, you did win with Kyrie.
That was 50 years ago. I'm talking about the last 5 years. As soon as those guys start to demand trades, you'll notice that they don't win jack shit after that. Ben Simmons.
Well,
James
AD
Harden,
did.
Kyrie. AD wasn't necessarily a disgruntled guy where he was demanding it. New Orleans just didn't, and I don't count Damian Lillard into that category either. Those aren't adolescent crybabies asking to leave. Those guys are like, look, I gave you guys a shot here. Nothing's producing. You guys don't have enough resources to get what needs to get done. I'd like to leave. That's different. So if you're going to get somebody this season of any relevance, it has to be a third guy. It doesn't need to be a starter. It needs to be a scorer, someone who can supplement the offense once LeBron, at least if LeBron sits. If you don't find that guy, it's going to be very difficult the more you get extended into the playoffs, and that's something I've said a few times, and I think it's something that continues to need to be said. If you're going to get guys like what's his name? Someone. That's a funny name.
Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk. I like the way he says it. Kelly Olynyk. Somebody like that's not going to really move the needle, guys. We tried doing that with a few guys.
Come on, Gerald, you're better than that. You can make up a simulated 2K NBA name. Come on.
So, anyways, so with that, we're gonna know, I think, in about a month how this kind of starts to play out. If the Lakers don't do anything by February, by the deadline, then they've essentially said, look, we're just going to roll with this team, obviously. And maybe a buyout player, but I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of buyout talent out there anyways. But the Lakers we're going to probably see them get bounced in the second round if they don't do anything. They have to do something if they want to infuse any kind of just something to give these guys a little bit of breathing room when they're not playing. Now, how that plays into the Darvin Ham situation? Darvin Ham is a terrible head coach, not an average.
He's also your assistant general manager who's going to be sitting right next to Rob Pelinka on every one of these trade discussions. And
he's a terrible, terrible head coach. If he wants to be an assistant GM, then he should, relinquish his position as a head coach and go be an assistant GM. We need a coach right now that knows how to set parameters with certain players and also obviously set plays that make players use their talents better.
I found the right one, Gerald. I actually found it. If we, keep going, Joe.
Yeah, I think again that's it. That's all I got.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's been a great conversation. MagicMan, did you want to show off anything before I send it to Tom on what he's been doing at Lakerholics.com before we head on out?
Absolutely, yeah. Keep Tom going because I'm looking for this.
Okay, yeah, because it's not. I don't see it as of yet, so no worries. When it does pop up, I'll pop it up on the screen. But LakerTom, it's been a fascinating conversation. It's gone to many different twists and turns as far as the names that are out there. What are you working on as far as obviously a lot of trade proposals still to come? But what are you working on at Lakerholics.com?
Well, I just published an article where I'm proposing trading for Marcus Smart and Lauri Markkanen. And the article that I'm working on right now is a trade for Draymond Green. I know that's an extremely controversial situation.
If you can read lips, if we acquire Zach LaVine, I'm going to say the exact same thing.
Well, I think that you'd have to say that Zach LaVine is fairly mild, uncontroversial.
For those who can't read lips, when he was drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, he looked up, rolled his eyes, and said, "F me."
Yeah. He probably wishes he was still with the Timberwolves, considering how well they're playing now, and how the Rudy Gobert trade 1 year later all of a sudden looks a lot different to a lot of people. Most of my trades basically are, there's a tendency that I have that I love out of the box solutions. So I
really
don't deny that.
Never could have guessed.
I don't deny that, and I don't mind the controversy that goes along with making those decisions.
Really,
and I have to say that probably I have two minds when it comes to basketball. One is a fan's mind, and the other is a coach's mind. And in a coach's mind, I tend to be pretty conservative, and I probably don't change lineups. I'm probably a lot like Darvin Ham and Frank Vogel in being very resistant to changing lineups and very, very dedicated to taking players that I personally think need more time and have an opportunity to grow, to giving them that opportunity. So, but as a fan, no way. As a fan, I want to win now, and I want our defense to get better. And I think we have a need for a center. And I want to look at the Draymond Green situation. I haven't decided whether I'm really going to recommend that we make that trade, but I want to look at it because I see a lot of possibilities in the trade. And it's one of those situations where I know LeBron and AD are very close to Draymond. They have a good long-term relationship with him. Being part of Clutch Sports Group is like being part of a team. These guys have a lot of interest in each other, and there are a lot of time they spend together. So I'm hoping that maybe out of this whole thing, that maybe LeBron and AD see what's going on with Draymond. And I like the way the Warriors have handled the situation, because I think the focus is right now that Draymond has something wrong with him, man. Something's wrong. That's
the league has handled this situation, not the Warriors. The Warriors
the league
have not handled
the league has handled it well, but the Warriors have responded well in the sense that they've gotten aboard on this whole thing that, okay, we got to get help for Draymond.
Does anyone else think
he knocked out Jordan Poole last year?
Well, yeah, but
or when he kicked.
I have a feeling, listen, I've known a lot of guys like Jordan Poole. I've known a lot of guys like Jordan Poole, and I played with him, and I punched out a couple of guys like Jordan Poole. So I don't blame Draymond one bit for that, because some guys just ask for it. There's some guys who just constantly ask for it.
Yeah,
Gerald, I know you're kind of making that face now, but actually, Tom has kind of a point, Gerald. There were a lot of Warriors players who wanted to put their hands on Jordan Poole. It just so happens Draymond got to him first.
Okay, but talking about all the other incidents.
Okay. But anyway, but back up a second. So there is a risk factor involved in here. That he could get banished from the league. He could get suspended for a whole year or banished.
Well, that would save the Lakers.
But he's still and the skill set that really counts, which is his basketball intelligence and his fierceness in the rim. He would be tremendous if the Lakers could somehow, through Clutch and LeBron and AD, get him in the right sense of minds. I think the Warriors are ready to trade him.
Well, let me say this before we get to Joe to give my answer, because I have a feeling we're 100% on it. MagicMan, you had a lot to say, and I wanted you to go ahead and make sure you express your feelings, my friend.
Yeah, Gerald. As I was thinking about this the past couple days, very interesting to me. So why should the Warriors be in any way, shape, or form involved in Draymond's mental health issues? Because they haven't, whatever in-house therapy they have
hasn't worked.
Outside hasn't worked. Yeah. It hasn't worked, and you haven't found the right kind of professionals to either deal with his anger or help him with it. So why would anybody think that there's solid evidence that the NBA and the Warriors are doing right by Draymond Green? They're doing right by themselves by suspending him. I understand that.
Well, I think they're putting the right focus. They're putting the focus on his mental health rather than.
If I was the league and the Warriors, I would say hands off, Gerald. Find an independent body outside that's not in your circle where you influence and you can manipulate the situation. If you want him to get better, that's the best course of action, because everything you've done up until now has been wrong.
So
I said they should suspend him for a year when that was my first reaction.
So I guess I'm going to close it out with Joe. Joe, let me bring you back in here. We started this show with the surprise conversation on Draymond Green. We ended, I guess, on Draymond Green.
Yeah, that's why I came on. I got to make this very clear. Draymond Green, there's nothing wrong with Draymond Green. He is a bona fide dildo. That's what he is. He's a schmuck. He's an idiot. He's a moron. That's what he is. We need to stop anointing. Oh, he has a problem. Oh, he needs help. No, No, has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with that. He doesn't give a crap. He wants to do what he does. And no one seems to get in his face and tell him who he is. We just sit here and keep thinking everything is an ailment and everything is a disease. How about just being an a-hole? How about he's just an a-hole? And I want to make this really, really loud and clear when I say this. He cost the Golden State Warriors the greatest season an NBA team could have had. He did. He did. After how many nut shots that year? He did. He cost them in 2016. Okay. And by the way, Jordan Poole, total a-hole too, just not to the degree of Draymond Green. If it wasn't for Jordan Poole in 2022, the Warriors would have got smacked by the Celtics. So you better thank your lucky stars. Jordan Poole pulled all that talent that year. Luckily, it was just that 1 year and got you that title. Because if you were relying on Draymond Green that year, you would have got your ass kicked in the finals. So just remember that. Draymond Green is an asshat. I don't want him anywhere near our team, not only because he's an idiot, but because he is done, and he's been done. What do they call them? Single doubles?
No, single triples. Yeah, single triple.
Triples is now 0. He's a 0 now. He's not even a single anymore. Keep him away. I don't want to see him in the NBA anymore. I can go into another realm here with this because I've been hearing a lot of stupid talk too that, well, Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer. Guys, we're going to have another show, and I'm going to tell you the difference between Bill Laimbeer and Draymond Green and Dennis Rodman. And you guys, because a lot of you guys didn't see Bill Laimbeer play, and a lot of you didn't see Dennis Rodman play. I'm going to explain to you the difference between those two versus this schmuck. And in the end, guys, I'm gonna talk about one last thing about the trade thing with Zach LaVine. The issue with Zach LaVine, besides his knick-knack injuries, is his contract. I actually would not mind having him as the third guy. He can score. He's athletic. He's something that would be perfect as a third guy. Okay, and he's never been a locker room cancer. He's never been an issue on the court in terms of not sharing with his teammates or anything like that. And I'm sorry, Sean, I probably would have said F me too if I got drafted by the Timberwolves. But so that's just what that is.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I was all for that. I loved it when he did that.
I've always called Minnesota the Siberia of, Canada gets called the Siberia of sports in a lot of ways. One of the reasons why I guess Canada hasn't won a national, or the Canadian team hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, and then of course Toronto or Vancouver when they were in existence. But really, it's Minnesota. Minnesota is the Siberia of the NBA, and anyone who goes there doesn't seem to get past whatever is there. But anyways,
no, you're right, Joe. For all four major sports, it seems like Buffalo and Minnesota are the Siberias. Yes,
it is, and Toronto is a Canadian version of New York. So it's not. I've never been to Toronto, but I have friends that have visited. Obviously, I know you, and I've always heard good things about it. That there is a lot of life there. There's a difference. I know it's cold weather. Everyone thinks cold weather is not good. No, that's not true.
It's a lot of things too. It's a funny money, Joe. We got funny colors on our money.
No, it's good. It's good. No, it's good. Believe me, I could live in. Let me just put it this way: if I could live in New York, I can live in Toronto. I can live in Chicago, Minneapolis. I'd struggle. So Zach LaVine, if there was a way they could get him, which there's really no way with that contract without pretty much creating a lateral move. I'd do it, but this is not realistic. I think we have a better shot at getting like DeRozan for something than we do Zach LaVine, but I don't know if that's possible either.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Lakerholics.com. Go ahead and check out all the proposals that Tom has got working up for you at Lakerholics.com and at LakerTom on Twitter. Guys, it's been a great discussion. Big shout out to the chat. Darren for the super chat. Big shout out to everyone out there. I guess MagicMan, I'll leave it with you. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out? I'm sure LakerTom will interject as well. So.
We're going to have to gut our team for LaVine and plus. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But I got this feeling, Tom said it, that the Lakers are circling around that situation, Gerald. And
They like their
anytime they've been
superstars.
linked to circling around these situations, 9 times out of 10, they end up pulling the trigger. I really hope the gun jams on that trade call, and somehow,
Or we get a
uh,
steal. I mean, the only way they got to do it is
because
it's just got to be a raw
I,
deal where we couldn't turn it down.
yeah, I really don't want to deal with the Bulls.
Picking any filler we want to send them. That's the deal, I think.
Yeah, I really don't want to deal with the Bulls because now Michael Reinsdorf is actually running them, Gerald. And quite frankly, when they started out the year, both Reinsdorf and Canassis, their president of basketball ops, talked about the Bulls wanting to be a faster team. Gerald, they're ranked 30th in pace.
Yeah.
They are the slowest team in the NBA, and I don't really want to trade with a team that's slower than we are. We got our own problems.
That we do, my friend. That we do. But we'll go ahead and expound on them more tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Again, it's the pregame coming up at you here tomorrow night. Then, of course, during the game, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, and the post game, the best post game for the Lakers that's out there is right here at the Lakers Fast Break. And then again, catch LakerTom, Lakerholics.com. You can catch the greatest articles for him. That's the greatest and the number one Lakers blogger that's out there. And then, of course, also as well, our good friend Jamie Sweet, aka Yami Sweet, his 5 Things articles there as well. Thank you also to Joe, who interrupted his football viewing for today's game. So let's hope we can get everything going here. So it is the Lakers Fast Break. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. So thank you so much again for joining us. We're looking forward to a great rest of your Lakers weekend. And also as well, we'll see you tomorrow night right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.
Dun, 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 dun. 2-1. Tom's already gone.
I'm not taking that bet because he is. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Lakers weekend.